The criteria for the Beautification Awards are a spectacular garden. We have a list of criteria that we go through when we visit the gardens, and it mainly involves neatness, color, curb appeal, variety, and just that extra spark, and you can see the effort that the people have put in. That's what we're looking for. Oh, it's always very hard to narrow down the winners, and every year is different. Some years we have a really big group of like excellent winners, and we can't award everyone, so that's really tough. But each year there's like a variety. We have small homes, we have large homes. We have fabulous creative people with art in their yards, or things they've done themselves, and other people have ponds, and then other people have just so much beauty and variety and tend their stuff very well and prune, and so it's just a how it appeals and how neat, and all the criteria that I mentioned.
Well, I feel great, and my wife feels great too. I mean, she did a lot of work on my garden also. It's not just me. She won't take the credit for it, but if you look around and see all the trimming and cutting and pruning and weeding, that would be her. For me, I design the gardens. I lay awake at night in bed and think which plants go where for next year. I always loved plants and flowers. Grandparents came from countries like Newfoundland and Ukraine. They couldn't get it up there much, you know. So when they came to America, they went, whoa, we get some sunlight, we get some good soil. So they gardened, and I was caught up by that. Way behind me is the garden is a spring garden. It's primarily tulips, daffodils, and it's got some perennials in it, 1 or 2 annuals. So that's a sun garden. And then right behind me with this tree is this Joe Pye. It's a flower that blooms in late September. So I've made that a Joe Pye garden. And this garden here is mixture of sun, full sun, and shade. And my grandsons, all 3 of them, have a part in it. I give them some ownership so they can say, hey, this is my garden. I got to take care of it. I want to see that. Spring is a whole lot of effort and work and preparing the ground and, you know, making sure everything comes up right and fertilizing, cultivating. The summer also, you know, you get beetles, diseases, you know, you're still cultivating and watering, and hand watering too. And in the fall, this is a kind of a laid back time, really. I mean, we have things to do, but not as much as we do in the spring or summer. It's relaxing. It's refreshing, and it takes your mind off of everything. I mean, I used to be in government and politics, and I did it then too. It was refreshing to me to get my mind off of the problems we had in Shelby. It's good to be in the Hall of Fame. I wanted to get to the Baseball Hall of Fame, but I made the Gardeners Hall of Fame.
It's always a pleasure to have someone else judge your gardens. Most people look at gardens, and unless you're a gardener, you really don't really appreciate or understand everything that goes into making the gardens look the way that someone wants them to. So when you have a subject matter experts come in and evaluate your gardens or look at those and deem them worthy of a beautification award, it's quite an honor. I've always loved gardens, period. I always had gardens in my previous home, vegetable gardens mainly, and my previous home I had a great variety of roses, over 56 different types of roses. When I moved here, with the amount of shade and canopy we have, it was completely worthless cause. I couldn't grow them. So what do? I couldn't grow vegetables and I couldn't grow the type of flowers that I did previously. So you started looking at the options that you have, and we started at the front of the house because that does get a little bit more sun. We started with a couple little small gardens. I really like to have 3-season gardens, so I like to have things in the spring. Just a little what I call splash of color. So I use a lot of primrose in the very spring. So I like to have gardens that are producing different blooms or blooming at 2-week intervals. So I like to see a continuous change in those gardens. You see them today, they look one way. 2 weeks later, you're going to see them another way. One goes away, one is coming on. So I like to have a variety of what we plant. This year was probably, without a doubt, the most time I've ever spent on my gardens. Traditionally, I spend 4 to 5 days over Memorial Day weekend. You're usually 12 to 14-hour days, 4 solid days. And that's from 7 o'clock in the morning until dark. I eat, I don't even go in the house, period, to try to get the gardens in shape. Gardens are always growing, and we have invasive plants that just move around. So this year was a good year for me to, I spent a little over 100 hours doing nothing but digging, weeding, separating, a labor of love. It gave me a good opportunity to look at every garden and say, okay, what do I want to do with it? How do I want to change it? And so I thought it was worth the effort. I like to spade the gardens every year, so I can go down 6 or 7 inches, bring up the soil to the surface. It does a couple things. One, it helps keep the soil loose. 2, it certainly helps to control weeds because you get rid of a lot of the root structure that you have. Weekly maintenance, probably close to 12 hours a week, but it's not really a job. I love playing in the dirt, so to speak. There's nothing to me. There's not much more rewarding, especially for a gardener, to take a section, take a garden, take all your gardens, hoe them, weed them, trim them, prune them, dead end all the flowers that you need to do, and then step back and take a look at them at the end of the day. You're never done. I'm already thinking about what I can do next year to make the gardens better than what I have this year. And it might simply be adding a garden, which I'm probably going to do next year. You say, geez, don't you have enough? No, I can make it better. And it's not for, and I'll be honest with you, it's not for other people. It's not for the Beautification Award. It's for, I don't know if you want to call it self-gratification. It's what it's about. If other people appreciate it, and I'm thankful for that. Other people look at it, they say, huh, well, that's a lot of work. Yeah, it is, but what the gardens give back to us, our family, is it's priceless.
I mean, I love my garden. I'm outside every day. I spend almost all day outside. It's my happy place, so I like to be out there. So to be recognized is just frosting on the cake. I love it. My mother used to garden a lot. Not like I do, but she did garden a lot, and her father, who I never met because they were from Scotland. So my grandfather in Scotland used to win all kinds of horticultural awards. And so I don't know if some of that rubbed off on me or not, but my mom had a great appreciation for the garden and for nature, so I think that's where I kind of got the bug from. Most of my front is sunny, which I love because my backyard is super, super dark, so that's a whole learning process. But the front, I like to do things like for the neighborhood, so I always have some kind of fun things out there for the holidays. So whatever the holiday might be, I'm definitely decorating for the holidays. So I also have a big wreath in the front of my house above my garage, and we have things that I change for that seasonally too. So my husband's always up and down the ladder bringing down this gigantic wreath for me to change the, stuff in. So I'll have that. And then around the side of my house, I like to have a lot of whimsical things in my garden. So I have like the Loch Ness Monster on the side, and I have like sculptures of children playing, that kind of thing. And I like to add to that as much as I can without it being tacky. I just like to have something unexpected to walk through the yard. The garden in the backyard is very, very dark. It's really hard to grow things back here. So after 30 years of working with the garden, by trial and error, we've kind of figured out what will work, what doesn't work. So we try to do as many things that'll grow back here as we can. It is a little limiting because of the darkness. I have learned that if you have pots of annuals, you can add your color. So I tend my pots, and then when they say, please put me in the sunshine, I can go and stick them in the driveway for a week and then bring them back out into the yard and kind of rotate them in and out so I still have color back here. So I've learned that pots are great. So I'm doing that. And we have 2 dogs that are active that are back here all the time, so we try to be very dog friendly. And we have wood chips down in the back so that they can run around, and different kinds of paths that they can go. Everything back behind the sandbox is kind of the dog freedom area, and if they want to dig and play and do whatever, they're allowed to. Hostas obviously are a great shade plant, and we've rotated a lot of them, and because they do well also in the sun, and I have a lot of hostas in my front yard who are gigantic, so we like to cut them in half and bring them to the backyard as much as we can, so I try to get 2 for 1 out of the deal. So I do that. And I've also found that some of the tropicals work really well actually in the shade. So I buy houseplant tropicals and plant them in the backyard, and then in the winter I dig them out and put them in the house. So I bring them back in. So then they're already starting at a pretty good size by the time I put them back out in the spring. So that has worked really well. Obviously begonias, annuals like that work out really well, so I do plant a lot of those. So I have changed most of my garden from annuals to perennials. And so that's a good, avenue too, because they come back. And so over the years, I've learned what works and what doesn't work in the yard. And so I just keep expanding on that and hoping for the best.
It's really an honor because we work really hard, and it's nice to see recognition.
I just love it. I love the outdoors, I love flowers, I love gardening. It's enjoyable, it's pleasurable, it's satisfying, it's relaxing, all of the above.
Motivation from the beauty of the flowers and everything around, and I love summer and I love being outdoors, and just to be able to work with God's creation and be the tenders of the gardens is just thrilling. The front is really not much. We spend our time in the back, so the front we just put some flowers and a little bit of perennials, more perennials, and a few annuals for color. But when you just pull up to the front of the house, it really doesn't look like much. And then you come around the back, and that's our little paradise. We have the waterfall and the pond, and the playhouse, and a lot of bird houses, bird feeders. We love to watch the birds, just being out in nature.
Enjoy the waterfall. I built it for the sound, not really for the water, because we can go into the sunroom and I can lay back in my recliner and have the window wide open and just listen to it at night, late at night. It's so relaxing, and read, and it's great. Then the playhouse, I built that for Nancy.
I've always wanted one since I was a kid, and we drive by those places that have garden sheds and playhouses, and I always stop and gawk and look through them. And well, one year Bill says, well, why don't I build you one? So we built it for the grandkids, but really for me. And he built it, and I painted it, and we fixed it up inside. We've got the bunk beds and table and chairs and another extra chair. There's a heater, and there's light, and there's electricity in there, little screen windows that open, and the kids sleep overnight. I sleep out there, and it's just a little getaway, and it doubles as perfect storage for all our lawn equipment all winter. It's not work, it's fun. In fact, we'll say, do you want to go play in the yard today? And we'll, yeah, let's go play in the yard, and that's our yard work.
When I met Nancy and we got married and moved in, and I just started. She would take the kids and go to the beach, and she'd say bye, and I'd say okay, and I'd work out in the garden, out in the yard. She really wasn't interested in it. We met in a discotheque, so she wasn't a gardener, she was a city girl. And then after we got married, her kids moved to Tennessee, and we just started working together. And she came out and she said, what are you doing? And I just kind of showed her, eased her into it, and now she loves it. She said, oh, let's go outside and get our hands in the dirt.
He did most of the designing of the beds, and most of his creativity shows in the yard. He knows what to plant where, as far as the perennials, and I've learned along the way. And I didn't used to spend as much time, but now that's how we spend our time together. And we'll come out here and we'll eat lunch at the picnic table, and we'll spend the whole day out there. And on real hot days, I'll sit in the pond and cool off myself and splash a little bit if it gets really hot. But we love to work out in the yard, and then we drop at the end of the day, and that's a satisfying feeling.
For me, the biggest gardening tip is if you've got a perennial in an area and it's not doing well, don't be afraid to move it. Plants are funny. When they find a home that they enjoy, they love it, they thrive. You might have a plant and put it in one area and it's not doing well at all. You can take the plant out and put it somewhere else and it does great. So that's probably the biggest tip, I would think, is just the placement of the plants. When it finds its home, let it grow and love on it, and when it doesn't, just move it.
My problem, all right, here's my problem that I had was I wanted everything to look like how I envisioned it right away. Where Bill has taught me that your plant's going to be small to start out with, and you have to leave plenty of space between the next one, or they're going to just all come in together. So that tip would be, you have to have patience to have it look exactly how you want it to look after a year, 2 years sometimes. So, it doesn't look exactly as you want it to be the very first time you plant everything. No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having people come and admire our yard. I love it.
I was very surprised. I didn't think I have that kind of beautiful yard, so I was very surprised. I guess that was my mom. She always loved to have flowers, and I learned from her. And I always love flowers. Flowers, it's beauty, it's love. Every year I put annual because there are more colors, and I like to sit down and design like how which flowers go, what place they go. I just love to be in a yard all day. If I can, I be outside. I plant begonias, that's my favorite flowers. And hydrangea I plant because they come every year. And I love roses, but they not all year. They don't bloom all year around. They just bloom like a couple months, like in the early spring. But begonia, it's my favorite. Over here I plant annual because it's a lot of shade and they grow on a shade. And between that I put little colors, because give more beauty of the yard. And I love the roses because, I always love roses. Is my first thing I love. And so I told my husband to design something, so I have to put them curl them all around, and so it can look pretty. And so I have this greenery, so I plant it like little by little, and so I can have a nice design all around my flowers. It's a lot of work, it's like sometimes I spend like 5-6 hours outside, depends, but usually I spend more times June and July. I stay sometimes 5 hours, sometimes even spend 10 hours. One of the week I spend like 10 hours outside. So, but I get up in the morning and I love to see. I get up, I go straight in my yard, just to see, how the flowers look and what they have to be done. So that's my first thing when I get up and get out outside. In the springtime, every year I put soil first, and then I really don't, in a lot of water, because I have a sprinkler, so I go morning and afternoon and night, twice a day, the sprinkles go on and water the flowers. But that's what usually and they need sun, of course, So that's what they need, and they need love. You have to do it with love. Everything you do, you gotta do it with love. The beauty of my yard, it's happiness to me, and I feel good. Like when I go outside, I feel something special for me.
Well, I'm humbled by the fact that it's just something you do. I don't do it to win the award. It's something that I do to make the place look nice. And we have people stop every day just to take pictures with them and so forth, with their family and so forth. It's kind of interesting to see that. So, and it's kind of neat, and also it's just a perk to have, I guess, to get the award, which we are grateful to have happen. We do it to do it. I don't know, of course, people ask me every day, how it is that I can make them do that. And I don't know. Something I've, 61 years of doing it. I mean, it's just one of those things. I blame a lot of it on my mother, because my mother was the one who instigated a lot of the things that I do, and she used to fertilize real heavy when you're planting and so forth, and that's what we do, and I think it establishes the stuff in the ground and it makes them do what it happens, why we end up with the results we get. So watering every day, and I know, that's what I say, I don't even know. I don't understand why it does it myself, because I just do what I do, you know what I mean? And I get the results from it. And I don't know that I do anything particularly any different than anybody else. But of course, it kind of goes back to the fact that my family has been in the floral and gardening industry since 1865. Started in the Flint area, so maybe it's just in my blood. Well, I enjoy it. It's something, like I say, I do every day, and I enjoy doing it, and I like to see the results. I mean, that's part of the success to get out of it. I mean, part of doing it is the enjoyment of doing it. So.